Hey friend, make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you'll help amazing folks like you find us. We want to continue to grow our spiritual therapist and practitioner space, so the more folks committed to helping Black QT Plus individuals heal can find us too. But we can't do it without your support. Thanks so much for being a part of our community. Want to stay connected? Sign up for our first quarter moon newsletter, where we share insights twice a month on topics that benefit spiritual therapists and practitioners dedicated to integrating spirituality into their work, while staying committed to supporting Black QT folks on their spiritual journeys. We promise never to spam you, so head on over to our website and sign up today. Go to reclaimingsoulworkpod.com to sign up on our landing page. And make sure you follow us on socials. We're on IG and TikTok at Reclaiming Soul Work.
Right. Welcome back, spiritual practitioners. This season, we are centering unlearning.
That's right. We're your hosts, Biani and Sequoia, and we're here to delve into the heart of our conversations, focusing on the lack of culturally rooted resources to support QT BIPOC folks navigating religious and spiritual trauma.
In our previous seasons, we emphasized the importance of unlearning, decolonizing, and divesting from oppressive teachings and institutions. If you're new here, welcome, and make sure to check out our previous episodes on our channel. Now we're dedicated to deepening our knowledge and understanding so that we can better support ourselves and our clients.
And as we navigate this season of learning, we aim to provide you with the tools, tips, and insights to help you on your path of reclaiming to soul work.
Whether you're well versed in spiritual therapy or you're brand new, just starting out, join us as we explore the intersectional impacts of religious and spiritual trauma on mental health.
So sit back, relax, and get ready to elevate your understanding of mental health and spiritual well-being as we embark on this season of learning. Let's get started, y'all. Ooh, yes. I'm so excited about today.
I know it's going to be a good show.
For real. So, as y'all know, you probably don't know, but for those who are tuning in, we're diving into the experiences of Black QT Plus folks who survived and broke free from the holds of church cults and found healing in psychedelics, y'all.
Mhm.
But before we get into it, let's talk about the focus of our podcast, which is centering the lived experiences and stories of Black QT Plus folks who have faced and continue to face religious trauma and spiritual abuse. Each episode highlights these important and unique voices in our community. So you really don't want to miss this episode. But if you're just tuning in, welcome. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel now so that you can get notifications on new episodes coming your way. So I really want to talk about this episode a little bit. We're going to journey deep into the realms of Black, queer, and trans spiritual practices where liberation meets healing. Our guest is already somebody I'm excited to know and be in community with. They're going to share their personal experience of breaking free from the grips of church cults and religious trauma, navigating the wilderness of mental health, y'all, and ultimately building a spiritual life that honors both their soul and identity. We're also going to talk about psychedelics, something that's often misunderstood in our community, but it can be used as a powerful tool for spiritual development. And it's actually a powerful medicinal tool that really helps us deepen our spiritual and ancestral practices. So y'all gonna have to prepare for this powerful conversation about reclaiming soul work and embracing Blackadelics as a path to wholeness. So I'm excited.
I know.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Biani. Shall we keep going with this part, or should we hop into the rest of the introduction?
I just want to give a little commercial segment, and I want to ask y'all to do something for us right now. If you already like what you're hearing, first 5 minutes in, make sure to subscribe to our channel. The more subscribers we get, the more attention comes to this podcast so that we can really spread the gospel of the stories of these amazing practitioners that we're having on our episodes. And we feel like these conversations are so important. So every subscription from you helps us reach more people. So do us a favor, like and subscribe to the channel right now. And if you're tuning in, shout out to those who are tuning in live. Shout out to those who are watching, the playback. Make sure you share it with somebody that you know would really like vibe with this message in this episode. So make sure you do that now. And then just a shout out to us. We are going to be doing some really cool magic in February of 2025. And we're thrilled to announce that we're going to be at the Witchy Therapist Summit. Sequoia and I are leading our tea and tarot session at the Witchy Therapist Summit. And we're really hype about it, honestly, because this is going to be a space where peer support meets soul work. And we're going to have tarot cards. We're going to have really some important conversations that you don't really get to have in other spaces, in these regular therapy spaces where they act like the spiritual ain't connected to our work. Um, so if you are a spiritual therapist ready to connect, reflect, and dive into what it really means to blend spirituality and therapy in our practice, register now and join us for a soulful tea and tarot experience. All you got to do is sign up, y'all. It's an amazing summit. Of course, sign up because we're going to be there, but there's going to be a whole amazing group of practitioners doing spiritual therapy magic. There's going to be conversations about energy work, mediumship.
Mediumship.
Yeah. And so, this is going to be the place where you can get together and connect with like minds. So register today. It's witchytherapist.com. Yes. That's the end of
Thanks
the segment.
so much. Yeah. Okay. I'm so glad you were like, we gotta say this commercial, honey. We got to talk about the Witchy Therapist Summit. Thank you for making sure that we center like the things that we have coming up. I feel like, one of the other things that this is helping us to do is talk about like what we're doing, in the community, making sure that folks know about the other things that we're doing, other places that you can see us and check us out and support our work. So yeah, Biani, thank you again for making sure that we get our commercial segments in. And again, really it's like our newsletter updates, keeping y'all up to date about what's going on. Anyway, we want to welcome y'all again. Thank you so much for being here. As a reminder, Reclaiming Soul Work is a heart-centered podcast by two Black queer femme-identified social workers where we center spirituality, social justice, and mental health. This particular season, we are centering religious trauma and have had so many different conversations about that. But we are going to hop right into like our beginning part of the episode. And y'all know we usually share, like names, pronouns, our big three, and then give a little bit more into maybe there's a share and tell, or we're just going to check in. And today I'm just going to check in. I don't really have a share and tell, but well, in the form of like a product or an item, it's more like storytelling. But hey, y'all, my name is Sequoia. I use she and her pronouns. I am in Charlotte on Catawba Indigenous land. I wear a number of different hats, but always glad to be here with you all as the co host of this podcast and our way to build community with y'all around these different topics that might be a little nuanced in some other spaces. My big three are Aquarius Sun, Aries Moon, Libra Rising. And I just wanted to talk a little bit today about psychedelics and like how that has been a healing practice for myself, and how important it is to be able to talk about things like this in therapy sessions with clients, and just in the sense of understanding plant medicine as a pathway for healing, especially for, BIPOC folks, but specifically Black identified bodies as well. I think Biani, I'm gonna hold off. I feel like I have like five different things in my head that I just like want to just throw out there because I'm so excited to talk to Sovereign. Because the first thing that came to my mind was, Sovereign is an Aquarius too.
What?
And yeah, yes. And I can't remember exactly. I don't remember if Sovereign's birthday is the day before mine or if we have the same birthday. I don't remember which one it is,
Well,
but
we'll
we're
find
that
out.
close. Yes. And like I'm just too excited about all of the things. So I'm just gonna hold off there. Biani, please take it away, and
Okay.
then we'll loop back. We'll,
Yeah,
we'll
because
loop.
we're excited to bring in our guests. So I will keep it short and sweet. Hey, y'all. Hola, mi gente. Biani, she, they pronouns. I am a Virgo sun. No, I'm not an Aquarius. I'm a Virgo sun, Cancer rising, Aries moon. And I am juggling a lot. I wear a lot of hats too. I mean, it makes sense. I was looking, you said Libra rising. I'm a Libra stellium. I'm like, there's so much compatibility that Sequoia and I have. So it kind of tracks. Um, but yeah, I'm a therapist. I'm an unschooling mama. I'm a doula. I'm a tarot reader. I'm an art writer. And I love this work, like, especially as a spiritual therapist. I love the work of like building a practice of joy. And I guess what I wanted to share that's been like really rooting me lately has been prayer. And I love reading the Psalms. And also, I came across this book. Shout out to my homegirl, Chantrell, who has a botanica/bookstore. I live in Lenape, Hoking, also known as Philly. And I got this little book, this independent book of prayers. I really love book of prayers. And this one's called My Mama Said Pray by Linnea McCrary. And it's just been, I love praying for my friends, for people that I love. Like if somebody comes to mind, I'm sending a lot of loving energy. And I just love having my prayer book. Shout out to Linnea. I don't know this person, but they did an amazing job. And this has just been really like carrying me through these tough times and like these challenges. I love praying, y'all. I love praying. So that's my share. Um,
That was
yeah.
great. Thank you. Thank you so much. We prior to us getting on this live stream, one of the things that we've been planning for is like 2025. And there's, like one of the things that we talk about a lot is how many episodes of the podcast that we've done. And at this point, this is episode 37. Biani and I have, this is season 5, episode 37. We've gone through like so many different shifts related to the podcast and just appreciate y'all for being here. And one of the things that I would love to go back to is our share and tell segments where we share these types of tools and resources like the prayer book that Biani just offered, right? We have so many offerings that we just kind of drop in these beginning segments, and it's a resource list ultimately. So like that's something that I would love to go back to, and appreciate you for continuing, to uplift that practice of ours to like highlight the resources that we find supportive. I am very, very grateful for that. um yeah.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, episode 37, shout out. So y'all, we're excited for our guests to join us
Mhm.
and introduce themselves. Yeah, let's bring in our
Okay,
guest,
okay, okay. Let's bring Sovereign on in.
Robert, who has the same birthday as my kid.
Hey.
Oh, that's
Yay!
cool. Hi.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
So
Hi,
excited
Reclaiming
to
Soul
have
Work
you.
World.
Thank you for being here, Sovereign. I um I would love for you to introduce yourself first, and then I would love to share a little bit with folks about how we met, how we kind of got here, and like transition us into this conversation about your journey.
Okay, okay. So, hi, everybody. My name is Sovereign Oshumare. I use they, them pronouns. I was born in Richmond, California. Um, my sign stuff. So I'm an Aquarius, born on January 20th. So that makes me born on the cusp of mystery. And I find it very fascinating because it's as an Aquarius, I'm a rebellious, forward-thinking person, but then as half Capricorn, or how I would put half Cap or a Capriqueer, uh, is that there's there's a there's a rigidity and a love of like infrastructure as like a starting point before jumping into liberation. And so like I have this like dual energy that I sit with every day. Some of me wants to be grounded, while some of me wants to launch into space. And then my moon sign is Sagittarius, and then my rising sign is Virgo. Um, I currently reside on Ute, Arapaho, and Cheyenne land, also named Denver. So I reside in Denver, Colorado. Um, yeah, I. It's so interesting with giving introductions. I like try to figure out like what's the best way to introduce myself, and I use this one little quick story that kind of sums me up. So this might be random, but I taught myself how to tumble and do gymnastics by watching television. So I was so inspired by watching like beautiful gymnasts throwing their bodies around and flipping and doing all these things that I literally willed myself to do a back handspring by watching it on television. Um, so like that is an essence of who I am, as someone that believes that anything is possible in this realm. Just to throw some yourself backwards and just know that you're gonna do something that you've never seen before or never done before. I That's kind of how I live my life. Like I just believe that anything is possible.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of like, yeah, like movement with you. Like when we've been together physically in spaces, how you've had this very like performance art, dance, like movement, energy, like all the time.
Yeah.
And I just love that about you. So yeah, thank you for sharing like that connection
Absolutely.
about growing up and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, I in preparing for today, I was thinking about like now what part of this story
I
what part of this story am I going to tell on this podcast
right.
about Sovereign and at what point I met Sovereign and how much you have meant to me. Um,
Mm,
yeah, and just how much you've meant to me. For folks who don't know, at one point in my life, I lived in Denver, Colorado, and I met Sovereign. I don't think that we met before yoga teacher training. I think that that is where we first met each other.
yeah.
And by chance, it was very possible that I wouldn't have even been in that cohort if I hadn't just come. I missed the first session of our yoga teacher training, and then I came to the second session and met everybody, and Sovereign was there, and we went through the cohort together. Um, found out that we were Aquarius, and I feel like we clicked in during the
Mhm.
cohort, and
Mhm.
then we graduated from yoga teacher training and then I got into a situation where I needed somewhere to live. I was homeless, working at Metro State, teaching, and was homeless. And A friend of mine was like, well, I know somebody who has this like co-living space. It's a, house where other people just live together. They co-live. I was like, okay, went there. And I think at that point I hadn't made the connection that this was the house that I don't have another word but found it. I don't know if that's the right word.
Hmm.
But I don't know if at that point when my friend was like, this is a space where you can go and they'll allow you to be there, that this was the house that you have found it, co-found it. And then I found out that this was your house. And I was like, I am getting ready. Like, I'm homeless. I did not know my yoga mate. This was your house. And it ended up being one of the most um, life saving points for me. I had never been homeless before, and the house was very welcoming. I probably would have continued to live there if I hadn't gotten the opportunity that I got to live somewhere else. But I just wanted to like open up um, our time together for folks to understand that like um, you just never know like when people are gonna be important. You never know like when somebody is gonna help you in a way that you hadn't like known. And that was just a time where I never felt less than. And I just appreciated the way that that space was cultivated and the intentions around it and the way that you welcomed me there. And so to still have a relationship through one of the hardest points in my life where many people had a front row seat to a very difficult time, and you were so like, I felt like your love for me never changed. I felt like I always had my yoga mate, I could always like reach out to you.
Yeah.
And I know that this is not supposed to be about me, but I just want folks to understand that you, Sovereign, you are just an amazing human being. And I just appreciate you. And to have a kind of full circle moment like this right now where we can come together and just chat about like all the things, I think is just amazing. And that's all I'm gonna say about that right now. My story is over. Biani, please take it over.
I was just really sweet. I don't know how to. We can shift gears, but I also want to make space for Sovereign to share because it looks like you want to share something.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you. That really means a lot, especially because I I just I want to be of service and I want to help my people. And I definitely have had a life where I wish that I encountered me. Um, Me now, like I wish I had people who would unconditionally just be like, I'm here, and I've had that to some degree. Um, but I just know how important that is. And also to see all of the work that you've done, especially like with this podcast and the things that you've been doing. I've been watching and I'm just so inspired by you. I'm just like, I'm inspired by you. I was just like, here's this very talented person who cares about people, needs something, or like I'm happy to like provide that. If I have it, I'll give it to you, and that's just always been the case. And I love you. I appreciate you, and yeah, I have nothing but admiration for you and the work that you do. It's needed, and if I helped in some way, like, I'm grateful. I love you.
Oh, I know. I thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think, this just, yeah, gets us on the right path to talk more about your work and a little bit more about you. I know that I like offered probably a very small like little notch on the timeline of you going to do yoga teacher training with Satya. Can you tell us like a little bit more either around like that period up until now, or like what has brought you on this spiritual journey and like how this ties into religious trauma and psychedelic use?
Yeah. Uh, are you ready? This is a crazy story. So
Yes, give it to us, give it to us.
there's so many twists and turns. Well, I would say when we met, I was in the process of doing a graduate program at Naropa the first time, and I I was having a really hard time in this graduate program because the support wasn't there, and then I it was a cohort model, and so the support wasn't there within the staff, and the support wasn't there within the cohort itself. And so I had to generate the will and support to sustain myself during that process. And Satya just happened to fall into my lap. People were like, "Oh, you should, try this yoga teacher training. It's like BIPOC. It's for folks of color. Like, you should try it." And I was like, I'm willing to do anything because I need a reflection of myself in some way in order to continue to go and experience what I was experiencing at school. And so that's kind of where you met me there. But then in relationship to my house, um, I I actually came to Colorado from essentially being, I don't want to say I was kicked out, but I'll just put it like the universe was like, you got to go. And that meant that uh, at the time that I moved to Colorado, the Ellis Act in San Francisco was a piece of legislation that would allow people to um, remove tenants if you were going to move relatives in. And also part of that was like they had to pay you in order for you to leave. And so some of that wasn't told to us, and we were getting kicked out, kind of like at the rise of gentrification in the second or third tech boom in San Francisco, in like 2017, and then I got fired from my job, and then I was told by like, because I was at that time I was in LGBTQ health, and so at that time I was told that I had to go and that I wouldn't be able to work in that town. And then I just created a retreat for queer people of color that I called Chrysalis. That was a pushback against the overwhelming like whiteness and the just like all of the different systems of oppression that exist in LGBTQ community, from like who gets the money and the organizations and how they spin stories around Black queer people, especially to get money that then goes for overhead and not on programs. And so like I found all of this stuff out, and so me creating Chrysalis was out of like resisting this like system that was absorbing us and chewing us up. So I created it, and then it started to create shifts in people, and and the queer people of color at that time were resisting the white queers in San Francisco, and so they hated me, and so they also held positions in power, and so they were like, "You will not work here. You will not work in this town." So I moved to Colorado. So like I've had these like times where I've gotten kicked out of these like ecosystems, and I was here, and then I ran out of money, and then one of the things that I used to be was a very proud person, and I was a I was too proud to ask for help, and so the universe whooped my ass, and I was like, I need help, and so people helped me and got me into the house that I'm still in currently. And I've been able to bring people in and hold people, and allow them to like recharge themselves in order to go out into the world however they need to, which has been such a blessing and an honor to be able to do. Again, because like I come from nothing, so you know, to be able to go through all these things and then to be able to have like a tangible thing that I could like help give to other people was has been incredible. And so yeah, like you we met at a time where I was like dealing with all that stuff and trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to give to the world. Excuse me.
Thank you for sharing. I'm
Yeah, I
curious
know that's a
about
lot.
it was,
I'm
yeah,
like,
like I'm taking it in, and I'm also curious about like your journey um and your experiences with like surviving or healing from religious trauma.
hmm yeah, so like something that I come from a very, and I'm sure we all do, from a very religious family. Um, like, like to this day, there is a prayer line that my family has where they get together and they pray every week for like the family line. It's something that we take very seriously. Um, and I like to say that it's not necessarily white Jesus that this like belief is poured into, but it's like our magic was taken through colonization, but our faith is some of the strongest magic I've ever witnessed in my life. And so regardless of the form that it had to be stuffed in, our power is too great. And so I think for myself, I that power is manifested in me as a gift to see. And so, and also being a queer person growing up, it was always like the messages that I got were like, don't do that, hide that, don't do that. And especially in church. And one of the things that occurred is that like we had a choir director who was a queer person, had the choir together, like talking choreography, singing, like had this choir together, but then they found out, his sexuality, and then they got they kicked him out. And so again, this message of like whatever this is doesn't belong. And so I stuffed it. I just completely stuffed it and tried to suppress it. And this is I'll just tell you. Yeah. So then I'm like suppressing this thing. I'm a kid, but I know I'm different. I'm getting all of these messages from my family that like I'm different and I need to like figure it out. And then sometimes you'll hear like little things like, you know, well, we don't have to pray on that. Like we're gonna have to pray on this person. Like, they got a spirit in them or they got a demon in them or something. And so it was this thing where it felt like I was wrong. And so I would say to that really deeply impacted who I was, because I was like, well, if this thing is bad, then I need to be overwhelmingly good in order to like be seen as worthy and good in the eyes of like the Lord. And so that meant taking care of my family unconditionally and being parentified as early as 5. And so yeah, and then just like being in the church and being able to see, I was I was able to see, I think, the things that the church was hiding in plain sight. Like for example, you know how like the mothers of the church will like sit in the front and like lead songs and do all these things. Well, one of the mothers of the church was my babysitter, who used to like beat her kids and even like would whoop us. And I thought that my mom knew that this was happening and that she was giving this woman permission to like whoop me and my sister. And years later, it turned out that that wasn't true. But this woman would know every scripture, know every song, but yet would turn into this monster outside of those church walls. And I would just start seeing people in my life, my own family, and other people in the church, like being a different way than they were when they were inside that church house. And so for me, that that I think that just, I don't know, that created this awareness in me of like something wasn't right. And then um so like yeah, just growing up, and like just growing up and being there like almost every day. And it's just like it it's in your blood. Like even sometimes now I'll be like, in the name of Jesus, just out of nowhere, or the blood of Jesus, like out of nowhere. Like it's at 40, like at 42, like that is still in me. And I will say, like, I got to leave the church as early as like 11 or 12. For whatever reason, my mom, like, well, after my dad was killed, church just wasn't the same for me. And so, because death was like dropped right into my life. And so, and there was, like, there isn't really any real infrastructure or culture around death. Um, like, how do we honor that? It's like, yes, we do a funeral and what have you, but like, how do we honor death, like, while we're living, so that it when it does show up, we know who it is. And that didn't happen for me. And so I was mad at the church. I was like, I'm mad at y'all. Like something's not adding up here. This isn't right. And so I left. And for whatever reason, well, I know the reason with in my family, because I took care of everyone and I did everything right. My mom was like, well, there must be a good reason that you don't want to be there, so I'm not going to force you to go. So I was grateful for that.
What denomination?
Yeah, Christian, or like with
Mhm.
apostolic.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And I will say, like, as I talk about, like, like the trauma of being in something where the things that people say and the things that people do aren't matching, um, but that having a power over like the value and worth of my being. Um, there were there was one person, which was the one pastor we had who passed at some point. He really used church for what I feel like it was supposed to be used for. It was supposed to be for community gathering and connection. He would like feed the people. He would clothe the people. He cared. Like he walked it, and he was in alignment. But it was the people around him that weren't. And so to me, like when he passed, that was like definitely the end of church for me, because he was the only one that I felt like lived it. And then again, just like watching people use it. Like I'll just say, like when I finally came out as queer as a late bloomer, my aunt came to me with her Bible and was like, the Lord told me to come and check on you. And I was just like, did he? What he say? And she was like, just she just wanted to know if they were true, if I were like queer or not. And then I said yeah. And then she's like, well, we're gonna get through this, and like I'm here for you and I love you and we're gonna get through this. And she left. And do you know I haven't seen her ever since? That was in 2010. So yeah. And then of course, as we all have like the coming out story. For me, it was like life or death. Like I went through something even crazier than all the stuff I'm telling you now. And I before this moment happened, I would like wake up to the voice telling me that I was queer, and I didn't know. I thought the voice was against me, not. I didn't think it was trying to free me. I thought it was trying to trap me. And so that, and because, that's a sin, right? Like that was the other thing that you would hear is like being gay is a sin and a man shall not lay with another man, like all this, all those things that folks would say. And I'm sitting here like, but I've done nothing wrong. Like I don't steal, I got a job at like 17. I take care of my family, like I don't understand why I'm wrong. And so that really like hurt me and has created, it took me a long time to come out. Like I came out at like 26 because I was so scared because I thought like I was gonna die. And then it was like, no, you're gonna die if you don't come out and tell the truth. And so that was kind of the beginning of me like finding therapy and realizing that my family system was a tar pit and I needed to get out.
Yeah, we really appreciate you sharing. I think you're speaking to a lot of the complexity of like religious trauma that feels important, and then the layers around family, identity, grief. Like there's just so many layers.
Yeah. And we are a collective people, even if we're in a system that values individualism, right? Like we are deeply connected to our families. And because of that shared Black experience, just speaking to, the Blackness in the room, like that's a collective shared experience. And the thought of not having, even if it's right to get out, even if it's toxic, like there's a survival there. There is a love there too. And so it's like, oh, I have to let go of everything in order to like be this. Like that's crazy. But I think that's like a threshold at some point that we as Black queer people always cross. Um, and I will say that, there's some of us who are still trying to stay connected to the religion, right? But I would argue that it's not necessarily the religion, but it's that collective power that's been, contorted and like, colonized that we're trying to hold on to.
One of the things that I center in the integration groups, the psychedelic integration groups that I facilitate with creatives is internal family systems
Hmm.
and parts work, right? And in that work, it's more around like how do we integrate the creative parts of ourselves that are hard to accept, the parts that we have shame or disappointment or frustration or anger around, right?
Hmm.
Like, how do you integrate that? How do you be kind to yourself and learn, how to do that?
Hmm.
And so, in thinking about like religious trauma, Black queerness, like there's some really supportive like intersections there. And so just wondering like for you as we talk about identity, and thinking about acceptance, like radical acceptance, um, what has been the place that made that connection for you related to either psychedelics or just any kind of plant medicine routine or practice being the pathway to healing, like with this part of yourself?
Yeah. So the psychedelics has been an incredible journey for me. At first, I was like, mm-mm. And part of that was because I was in grad school at Naropa, and he would laugh at this now, but one of my friends would go to these talking circles that had psychedelics around, and I just didn't trust him. I was just like, you want me to go in the mountains with you, and you want me to like do something that can change my state of mind? No. Just like absolutely not. Um, but over time, like he wore me down, and with kindness. It was just like, I understand. Like at some point, you will trust me. We'll go figure this out. And so I went, and it was a seed. It was only one experience where it created an opening. It just a little opening for me to be like, there's something here. There's something here that I can't explain. And I will say, combined with like mindfulness and meditation, and again being going to like a Buddhist contemplative like school, cultivating awareness in combination with psychedelics gives you space to see how you are moving, and you can decide on what decisions you're going to make. And so through that process, I started seeing myself from another place and realized that there was more work for me to do, because of some of the decisions I was making were out of trauma and needing to like address that. And so that led to me doing ayahuasca in, I think, 2018. And then that was when I got all the downloads. I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the way to go. There's so much that you can get from it. And it's not for everybody, and it's not something that you would do like all the time. That would come later, where I found mushrooms and microdosing, which is taking a small amount of psilocybin, and that has been really incredible because that's helped amplify my meditation and mindfulness practice, to give me again the space to see myself and the choices that I'm making and how I'm moving, and also connecting to nature and the environment around me, because as we all know, the world is burning down, and part of the reason why the burning is happening is because there's a severing, or if that's how you say it, of our connection to nature. And so psychedelics reestablishes that connection, to the point for me where when I look outside, I see trees first. I don't see buildings. I see what's alive. Um, and so that that has been an incredible journey that ultimately led me to creating Blackadelics, but which is a group of Black folks who are trying to figure this out. Like, what is psychedelics to Black folks? How do we want to use this medicine, or I should say, how do we want to be in relationship with this medicine? How do we want to be in relationship with Indigenous folks? How do we want to be in relationship to the indigeneity within us? And so I created Blackadelics reluctantly, because I had tired of building things. I would like to walk into things and be held, but I don't know if that's what I get to do this go round. I just feel like I get to make spaces and keep it moving. But I will say Blackadelics in this and this time has been something that I've given to other people and had other people tell me what it is, and then I just help create it by what they tell me. Because it's one thing to just tell somebody what they need, but it's another to just give a seed to a community and be like, water this and let me know if you need me.
Thank you so much for sharing, like again, your journey with plant medicine and, the intentions around it. I think that that is the piece that I find lacking or not as strong, you know, um, practitioners that are in like psychedelic spaces, specifically Black practitioners, and not having an intention around that relationship, I think is really harmful and recreates, again, these really just harmful relationship dynamics. Um, and kind of going back to this piece about parts and um, being in spaces together, I just appreciate your work, and how you share with us. Yeah, like those connections. Biani, was there one more thing that you wanted to ask? I know we're running out of time, but I would love if we could just get to one more question maybe. But just wondering if you had one.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I'm aware of time, but like, I actually appreciate you because I feel like a lot of the spaces in psychedelics are still really white. And
Ooh, I haven't even begun to. Yes,
yeah, and like so,
yeah.
I'm like a baby to this. Like I've always been interested in it, but it feels
Hmm.
not safe. Like if I could
Yeah,
be honest. And
yeah.
so I think, your work in Blackadelics feels really important. I'm also holding the other part of you that is talking about like your sacred contract in a way that you're like, hey, I really want to be held and cared for, but it seems like my path is to like be the person who creates the space. I just want to sit with that because that's really resonant for me,
Yeah,
and holding that kind
yeah,
of as well as
yeah,
you offer and are like the keeper of that
yeah,
care for
yeah,
folks, even if it's like
yeah,
being the one who wields it. So I don't
yeah.
really have a question. I have more of like a reflection point. But I think maybe my last question in the interest of time is like I'm wondering how you feel like psychedelics, like this, powerful ancient plant can really help Black, queer, and trans folks heal from religious trauma. Like how do you think maybe just one or two things that come around your journey that could really help those who are watching?
Ooh, so this is hard.
Yeah, I
Me,
know.
I'm just like, oh my God. So if I could tell one thing, like something that I want to name is like something that I've experienced is the psychedelic properties of cannabis. And cannabis is a plant that is more accessible than psychedelics are. And I have to name my source. There's a place called Medicinal Mindfulness in Boulder, and this person by the name of Daniel McQueen created this technology of combining cannabis and breath work to elicit a psychedelic experience. And I've done it a few times, and it is absolutely incredible. Like, I feel like I had, based on the things that happened, I had an ayahuasca experience, a psilocybin experience, and a DMT experience. It's all in one. And I think that there is an opportunity for us to heal that relationship or create a stronger relationship with cannabis. And because it's already been through all of the systems and it's come out the way it has, like we can facilitate those circles today and everyone has access to that. And so I just want to say that the other thing I want to name is because I named this white man, I just want to name like Detroit and the Detroit Psychedelic Conference. There are some fucking powerful and amazing people, and especially Black women out here running shit in the psychedelic space for us. And then for folks who are interested, there's a documentary called A Table of Our Own. that was created by some friends of mine who I deeply respect, Aize and Kukikiri, who live in the Bay. And then there's also Oakland Hyphae, um, and a gentleman by the name of Reggie Harris, who is really out here trying to make platforms and all of the things for us. And so I think so. There's that. I just want to like offer that. And I think for me as a Black queer person, psychedelics has really given me an opportunity to really release some of the trauma that has been stored in my body, is the best way that I can put it. Things that I didn't even know were in there, combined with having like a mindfulness practice, I am in tune with my body in a whole new way. Like it speaks to me. And that might sound woo, but it's like my body, independent of my mind and spirit, is a sentient thing that has desires and wishes. And I have to honor them. I have a deeper connection to this vessel because of psychedelics. And I know that journey may be hard for people, but I swear to you, it's worth it. What's on the other side is amazing and also hard.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I had started off talking about intentions and just kind of also maybe this is a main moving us into main takeaway, but also answering the question of like Black queer folks um, and psychedelics as a healing pathway. I'll offer that for me, my experience was that piece around intention setting. So prior to um my session, we did like a whole kind of practice and I set my intention. It was like some art making around it as well, which was fun. And the
Mm-hmm.
ancestors and the plant medicine gave me radical acceptance, which is one of the reasons why I always talk about that in relation to psychedelics, because
Yes.
that's the intention that I was
Mm-hmm.
given and that I
Mm-hmm.
accepted. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, like that has been the place of, like you were talking about, that little seed, like the opening. There was a
Right.
moment to allow myself to see me being okay with just the person that I am.
Yeah.
And so it has been like continually creating that for myself because I've seen it, I've experienced it already. I know what I'm like in that space. And so, yeah, I agree. I think that if you have access to, you know, be able to be open around some of these other spiritual practices, I think that it can, just create some moments that
I
would be
agree. Yeah.
good, So go ahead,
Yeah. And
please.
no, I would just say too, like,
Mhm.
even before anyone gets started, like you were saying about intention, it's like you're building a relationship. And, indigenous folks of this place believe that like the plant has a spirit and you have to build and cultivate a relationship with the medicine before you do anything. And I think we collectively in this country, I'll say, we consume and we take and we don't think about what that is, what that feels like, but it's just what we do. And again, like these medicines ask for humility. They definitely ask for intention, and you have to honor that to get what it is you're seeking out of the medicine. That's what I believe. Hopefully, people, try their best, because that's the other piece too. Especially with the industry, they're throwing it in gummies. They're putting it in everything they possibly can, and they're creating these systems for those with money to make as much money from it as possible, and that the spirit of it is being pulled apart. So please, like, yeah, use it with care, but it'll change your life for the better.
I'm really grateful for this conversation. I think I have many takeaways, but the one that's standing out to me is like you're like the first person that has offered it in a way that feels accessible to our community, like thinking about cannabis and breath work and how we have to like re-engage our relationship to cannabis in a way that is like coming from a place of humility and intention really
Yeah.
resonates. And breath work has been a powerful practice for me
Hmm.
that I realize now, like it's been a while, but I know that any practice I've had has felt like trance-like and kind of just, but I appreciate the ways that you like I really want a Blackadelics experience. That's my takeaway. Like I think that's clear. Like I need it, we need it. So thank you for that,
Hmm.
Sovereign. Thank you
Absolutely.
for that main takeaway. So
Absolutely.
what about y'all?
My main takeaway is centered around the importance of relationship. Sovereign, you are the second Satya yoga grad that we've had on. And I'm grateful for the relationships, that I've been able to have from that particular community, and see again just I was gonna say wholeness, just like the wholeness of our experiences, and that even though we've kind of come together, again just using this random example of yoga, right, like
Hmm.
there's this religious trauma kind of intersection, there's this intersection around psychedelics,
Hmm.
there are
Hmm.
these other places where we meet. And so yeah, I'm grateful for relationship, and I think that that's again like the cornerstone of plant medicine. It's just based in relationships. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. We need each other, and
Mhm.
that's another piece that I think once cultivating a practice with psychedelics, you'll see how important community truly is. I'm so grateful. Thank you
I
for having me.
know. Thank you. Thank you. Biani, did you do your main takeaway?
I did, I did.
Okay. Sovereign, did you do one?
My main takeaway is just I'm just grateful for what y'all are doing, and just grateful for the space for me to say things. I would love to come back again. This was really fun, and I'm just so grateful for both of you and the work that y'all do. Again, like as a future therapist in training, like this is something I'm looking at and toward. So I'm just like, thank you for laying that groundwork for me and all of
Like,
us.
yeah. Well, like we said, we need you. We're so excited that you are entering this work because we need you. Um, so, Sovereign, can you tell our viewers and friends where they can find and follow you online?
Yes. So please follow at blackadelics.co for folks who are interested in psychedelics for us and by us. And then if you want to follow me personally, you can follow my Instagram. That's sovereign_Xavier. And yeah, I look forward to having you.
And do you have, and can you let us know about any offerings or like services you're providing right now? Or like, I know you shared
So
a lot of gems already, a lot of
yeah,
offerings
yeah,
that you do,
yeah.
but anything else that we should know?
So pray for me on this. But I didn't really mention this during the time we were talking. But the event that we had that kind of birthed Blackadelics was an all black psychedelic event here in Denver that took place at a black owned space with a black panel with black vendors. It was black, black. And we are going to do that again this year, hopefully in 2025. So the main big psychedelic conference is coming here to Denver in 2025, and we want to offer the Black folks who come, a different experience. and a different pathway with psychedelics. And yeah, just figuring out again, like who's interested, who's here, and like what do people want? Because it's not about me telling people. Or and shout out to my co-founders Kenya and Carolyn, two incredibly great Black women, and we are just like, community, tell us what you want, and we will do our damnness to bring it to you.
That's incredible. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sequoia, take it out.
Oh my gosh. I'm supposed to be taking us out, aren't I? Okay. Sovereign, me and this script, we have a love-hate relationship. I be following it, and then I be lost, But one of the things that I wanted to say too was, please let me know about the offering that you're going to do. I'm assuming that you're talking about the MAPS conference.
Yeah.
Let me know, because if I remember correctly, PLC Psychedelic Collective is probably going to be there as well. So y'all should probably like get connected.
Yeah.
For an event. So definitely let me know. And a table of our own. Ifatayo is in that. So when you mentioned that, I'm like, I know that documentary. I know what you're talking about. So I love that. Thank you so much. I thank you everybody for being here today. I appreciate you, Sovereign, as always. Thank you for mentioning all the resources for folks to check out. Thank you for everyone who happen to catch us on YouTube in the live stream. Also, folks on Instagram, we got some feedback. People were saying like, thank y'all, this was a great chat. So bringing that Instagram chatter on this side. Thank you all for that as well. And as always, we're going to keep the conversation going. You all, please ensure that you share your thoughts with us in the comments, especially for those catching us on the playback. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. We have another episode coming up on November 18th. We have Surviving the Black Church podcast coming back on to talk more with us about Black religious trauma and what they've been up to with their support groups and how it's been going and everything. So we'll be excited to check in with them. I think I did what I was supposed to do.
You did well. You did well, friend. Thank you so much for being in community with us and supporting a heart-centered podcast by two queer Black femme healers and spiritual social workers who explore the intersection of magic, spirituality, mental health, and everything in between. Stay connected, y'all, to our community. We want to keep growing the space. So make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you follow our guests who are doing amazing work. And make sure you sign up to our landing page so that you can stay connected to our free monthly newsletter, First Quarter Moon, for news, offerings, events, and updates. And we'll see you next time, y'all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.